Okay, I'm really excited we're talking about this because I saw this and kind of was really surprised.
It's a great graph in terms of providing information that is useful to the pronatalist movement. It's just one of those instances where the information is maybe not the information we'd prefer from a palatability perspective.
Yeah. And we have to
Um,
we have to hat tip. So I got this from Wyvert on Twitter, who shared, I'm reading his tweet, a remarkable and high quality Swedish study. If men win the lottery, they marry and have children. If women win the lottery, their fertility does not rise. Indeed, low income women get divorced. You might think more resources means more kids. Yes, with men, not with women, which is fascinating. Totally fascinating.
so,
Would you like to know more?
so I want to word this a different way because I
Yeah.
don't know if you fully conveyed it. When a man wins the lottery, whether he is poor or wealthy, he is much more likely to have more kids and he stays with his partner typically.
Yeah.
When a woman wins the lottery, she both does not have more kids, and if she is not wealthy, she will often leave her partner. So, from a pronatalist perspective, if you're thinking, where do you do cash handouts? Where do you put money? You do not want to give money to women.
Which is wild because that's where the cash handouts go. The cash handouts overwhelmingly go to mothers. And
Mhm.
yeah, gosh, I don't
By the
even know
way,
where to start.
You actually see this in a lot of the old documentation about the charity work being done in Africa, where they're like, we're giving money to women because when women have money, they have fewer kids.
I mean, first, I appreciate the information that cash handouts don't work. I think it's very spicy, this idea that, like, well,
Well,
I'll give it
even
a cash,
enormous cash handouts.
yeah, enormous cash handouts. Let's just give cash handouts to men. Like men, here's money to raise kids. What would happen,
Well, let's talk about like maybe biologically or socially why this phenomenon is happening.
Mm.
Why do men have kids but women leave their partners? I want to hear your hypothesis first.
Well, I think it's you could call this trickle down pronatalism. So men and I think you're very indicative of this, that when they think about having kids, they often kind of think, well, I'm just gonna marry someone and then she'll have and raise the kids, which is totally not what you do, obviously, Malcolm. Like
Mhm.
you are very hands-on in raising our kids. But when you were younger, you just thought you were gonna have a ton of kids and you weren't really concerned about like how you were going to raise them or how you were going to work that out. The
Like
assumption
figure it
was
out.
just you would
Yeah.
be very successful and very wealthy and you'd have a lot of kids. And it just kind of happens. And I think a lot of women turn to men for resources and see men as the source of resources and stability that enables them to feel very comfortable having kids, whether or not they maintain a career. Which is why I think many of these women who won the lottery left men because they had a different source of and a better source of resources. So I think the interesting thing, the idea here with trickle down pronatalism is if you give more money to men and then they can attract more women and then have more kids because
Well,
women are more attracted to the men or they're more likely to have
hold on.
kids
Simone,
if
you're
there
not
are
answering the question exactly. Okay.
okay, okay.
Why is it that women, when they get more resources, don't just use the resources they have to have kids? Why is it that they will only have a man's kids for resources?
Oh, I think
Do
it's
you see, like, it doesn't make sense what you're saying,
no, I
right?
no, I'm bad at articulating things, but I think it's a status thing. Women seem to be more comfortable having kids when they are pair bonded with a partner who is higher in status than them, who appears to be the source of resources. A woman is made less likely to take a
Actually,
maternal
that's a really interesting point you just made that I wanna
she's less likely to take a maternal role in life if she sees an increase in appreciation in her status through wealth, because now suddenly the number of bachelors who are actually eligible to her because she has to marry up, that's like a very female trait, is just extremely low. So now there are fewer men that she can pair bond with, there are fewer men she can marry, and it's going to be really hard for her to settle down with someone and have kids. Whereas with a man, suddenly he has a ton more options because now there are more women who will see him as equal or higher status to them.
So, I have a really interesting piece of evidence here that
Okay.
might bolster what you're saying. So, my brother's spouse has always said that her goal in her career is to bolster my brother, to make him look like a bigger deal than he might otherwise be. Because I often ask, like, you're doing most of the work, you have most of the credentials here. Why is he
No,
always top
they
billing?
have equal credentials from
No,
equal
they have equal
universities.
credentials. So a bit of background here. Both my brother and his wife have MBAs from Stanford. Both of them have degrees, undergraduate degrees from St. Andrews, which is
Yeah.
the top ranked university in the UK. But she is, I'm just going to be honest here, she's harder working than he is and more aggressive than he is. Yet she always frames him as running everything. And I've asked her about this before. And I was like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you, and you do this too with me, Simone, to an extent.
I think that's more about like gender dimorphism and what men and women bring to the table. Men bring some stuff that doesn't look like man hours. It's more like very, very, very strong
Simone, this
intelligence
is
and
how you are
strategy.
justifying it to yourself. I understand. But if
Uh,
you are a man, you wouldn't say I, who am putting in more effort in man hours, is subordinate to you, who puts in less, you being me, who puts in less effort in man hours. And I do. I genuinely do. I put less effort in man hours into everything that we run. And yet
yeah,
we
but you put more value into everything we run.
run. Well, and that's what you would need to say if you wanted to keep up the charade.
It's not a charade.
But here's what I'd say is that whether it's me or my brother, these ultra high value women who are securing, I mean, I consider myself an ultra high value male.
You are.
Attractive, quote unquote, successful,
You're the real deal.
respected publicly, broadly speaking, and or at least by
Smart,
some communities.
accomplished. Yeah.
Accomplished, yeah. So yeah, the question is how are women securing these men? They're creating these men. This is how these ultra high value women get the partners they want. Is they create their career success and then
The ultra
bask
high
in the
value women who
glow,
end up staying with their husbands.
yes,
we
of
should say.
being the woman who's married to the high value man, because they've created that high value in the man. But this then comes to what we're seeing in lottery winners, where someone like my sister-in-law or you, they spend a lot of effort trying to uplift their husband because that's what they really care about. When these women get a lot of money, they want to have children with somebody who is already high status. Like, that's easier for them, or the way that they approach marriage, than uplifting their husband. In a historic context, this may not have been the case, because marriage or divorce would have been much more costly. Like, you could, historically, if you were a widower or a divorcee, you couldn't remarry, certainly not a high value man. And yet many of these women today, now I actually don't think this is true. I think that if you're a divorcee, you will not get a high value man. I'm sorry, you won't.
What about the woman who married why am I forgetting her name? Wallace Simpson.
Okay, look, it happens rarely.
Okay.
The point being that women leave men today to try to look for other men because they think it is easier to get a higher value man now that their status has raised than it is to raise the status of their husband.
Or women just aren't comfortable being with a husband who's lower status than them.
But why are they higher status? They just randomly won money. That doesn't make them higher status.
I mean, it kind of does. Like, it just makes it so much harder to be with them. I know I'm still binge watching Financial Audit by Caleb Hammer on YouTube, and I just keep watching these couples, and I think it's really hard for spouses to respect, especially female spouses, to respect male spouses who just aren't contributing at their level and aren't at their level, because it keeps showing up in these interviews. I doubt what you're saying. And I just think
what part?
That women suddenly think like that just because they have money, they're not higher status than their husbands. That's just not how it's seen. Because now they can afford all these things. Their husbands.
If you became higher status than me, would you leave me? Well, what happens if you won $1 billion through the lottery? Would you like?
I think we're talking about when, keep in mind, because this also shows up in the Swedish study, it was only lower economic status women who were divorcing. It wasn't all
Oh,
women.
that's a good point. Yeah. It wasn't the
Yeah,
higher.
I think
so
once you
wouldn't-
reach a certain level, it doesn't really matter that much.
and you know that you can use the money to uplift your husband because it might be a competency issue. Like if
Yeah.
your husband is a semi-successful lawyer and you win $1 billion, you
Yeah,
know
you
that
can
if
do a
you
lot with
work
that.
with your husband
You have something to work with.
with that $1 billion, you can make him better, you know. But if he's, yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's their belief in their husband's ability to improve and properly deploy capital that is what's at stake here.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that's a lot of it.
then I want to take this story in a different direction because of something that, well, actually, before we do this, do you think women should be allowed to own property? You know, given that this is the case.
Yes, 100%. I mean, look back at Sparta. Like, right, this was a very male-friendly culture, you could argue, and women 100% were the property
Mhm.
people. I don't know if they technically own the property or whatever, but like they were on it. I don't think this is about property ownership. I do think that what we're seeing is a profound misunderstanding of the social dynamics that need to be at play to encourage men and women to have kids. And what men need is resources, and what women need is high status men. And we talked about that other Substack post a while ago where the author theorized that like the real solution to pronatalism is to get rid of bureaucracies and to is generally economically disempower women and economically empower
Sorry, I
men.
need to clarify what she means by that statement. Women disproportionately succeed within bureaucratic environments due to gender differences between men and women. If you get rid of large bureaucracies, you will systemically disempower women in a society, but not necessarily in a bad way, in a way that may lead to them finding more men desirable because women want partners who they see as better than them.
Yeah, basically he was saying we need to give men the ability to thrive once again economically and professionally, because we are not allowing that anymore, really. And besides, getting rid of bureaucracy would be amazing, so I was cool with that argument. But yeah, I think that this is tied to that argument that he was making, that like a big problem we have now is that men are not given opportunities to be higher status than women, and it is very, very difficult for women to get interested in men who are not high status. We even saw this when we did that matchmaking experiment where we had a bunch of people fill out a form and put in, you know, like their criteria and what they cared about and their values, and we tried to match people based on their values and criteria. And instead we saw that women had very out of whack expectations. They really wanted an incredibly high status man, and the high status man really didn't care that much about status. He cared more about her being kind of young and hot. So that was,
and there's a lot of young hot people in this world.
There's so
not
many
a
young
lot of
hot
high
people.
status men.
Well, and guess what? There are more born every single day. They just keep making them. And the more older you get, the more there are young and hot people out there. It's insane. This is a losing battle.
But you know, the status that you've taken and my brother's wife taken, which I think is really interesting, and I think shows the correct choice for a woman,
Is to build up her husband.
marry early, marry the type of guy who is diligent, hardworking, and intelligent, and cares for you, and appreciates what you do for him, and build him up.
Well, but right, that the other element of this on the guy's side, though, which I think we've talked about occasionally, is to get the fixer-upper girl. She doesn't need to be completely politically aligned with you. She needs to be open-minded and sufficiently intelligent to have her mind changed if she's presented with compelling evidence. And it's better. Yes. I remember you telling me when we were like early dating that it was very important for you to date girls who did not wear a ton of makeup, who had not had a ton of work done, who were not really good at styling, because then you knew that you could buy an appreciating asset. If you went after women,
was the worst.
I know you wanted to fix her upper. It's like, but it makes sense, right? If you're looking for an appreciating asset on the housing market,
I bought you.
Do you want
bought you for your?
You bought a beautiful fixer upper.
Your not your career, because you were very early in your career at that point, but your
Yeah.
career potential,
Yeah.
and your work ethic, your intelligence, and your curiosity. And I knew in all other aspects you were a fixer upper, which only meant you were an appreciating asset.
Right. You buy the rundown but old and very sturdy house that is the worst looking house in a really nice neighborhood.
Buy a house with good bones,
and you fix it up.
Marry a partner with good bones.
And the problem is that most guys that we know who are dating want to buy a house in a brand new neighborhood that was either built in a very cheap new construction or was recently flipped. And if you just chip away a wall, like it falls apart. None of this is real. It is all either plastic surgery that's going to wear off soon, or it's makeup, or it's
Oh yeah,
styling, or
that's
it's
a good way to
filters.
put it. We live in a house made in the 1790s. A lot of people out there are buying McMansions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who do you think deals with more house problems? We almost never have house problems.
Yeah, this thing's
It's
built like
nice
a
and
rock.
it's sturdy, and people come and they are impressed with it, and they're like, "Wow, this is so regal." You want a woman who's like a house from the 1790s, not a house from the 1970s.
We'll record a longer video on this at some point, but this really reminds me of the modern controversy about like country girls not being womanly enough because women are defining womanliness by what womanliness was during the age of Clueless.
Good morning, y'all. Quick update on the house, because I've been pretty terrible about giving y'all these.
This went viral on Twitter with the caption, "This accent needs to be illegal, and women should be banned from doing manual labor like this. There is nothing feminine about American women. American women are literally men." The person giving this white hot take is Samira Khan. In her view, the guys that like Hannah Barron can't be straight men. Lebanese women are literally perfect, and they're actually feminine, unlike estrogen-deficient American women.
Well, or even worse, 1990s, the naughties. They look good. They look great. They look like they're the Instagram models of houses. But I think the important thing to come away with here, though, is that men and women need different types of resources to be inspired to have kids and to be comfortable having kids.
And
And
we
a
need to understand that men
well-resourced
and women are
man
different.
or a well-resourced partner is a better resource to a woman, or better incentive to have children to a woman, than personal money, than spending money, than subsidies.
Then here we're going to talk about the second graph, which is to say, well, then shouldn't we? Well, let's read what the tweet says. Yes, it's by Bennett's Phylactery.
He says, "This is why you get the horseshoe graph. If you qualify for welfare, someone else pays for the kids. Otherwise, you need 200 to 250K to make the math work, about 7% of US households."
And just to be clarify what he's showing here, it's showing fertility rate by income level. And it shows that on average, a family that is non-white goes back above fertility rate when they're super wealthy, starting at around I don't know, like 215K per year. Whereas white families don't go above population rate again until they're around like 350 a year.
Yeah. And that both white and non-white populations see their fertility plummet once they are making between 25 and 50K a year. And that is exactly when all the government subsidies for childcare, for healthcare, and for food disappear. And it is genuinely astounding how much, at least in the United States, because we had pronatalist.org look at all the state resources for parents, how much is available to parents who are living at or around or below the poverty line. So you can get quite commonly free childcare, free food, free medical care. It's amazing. But that is what he's pointing out here. In a follow-up tweet, he writes, "This doesn't mean people can't, quote unquote, afford to have kids. It means they can't afford to pay someone else to raise them, which is indeed a historical privilege of the aristocracy." So interestingly, it is kind of true that what these social service programs are essentially doing for those who utilize them, those with very low income levels, is enabling them to raise children like the aristocracy in a culture that doesn't really support family-based child rearing or community-based child rearing. So in a world in which child rearing is atomized and made a very economic commodity that everyone has to pay for on a one-off basis, the only way that you're going to be able to raise kids sustainably or affordably is by either having someone else completely pay for it, let the government be your trust fund, or to have a trust fund, or just make a ton of money.
Was there some follow-up about how any country that cares about its population, like women, should?
Oh, you had shared with me another tweet. I did not know if this was connected because it was just a screenshot that you shared with me.
Okay.
But it was someone saying, and this makes me angry. I just hate this. I don't hate the person who tweeted it, but I'm not going to say their name because I'm saying that I hate what they said. "Feminism is a nation killer because the whole point of it is to extract labor from the woman that should be going into raising children and redirect it to various useless parasites. And the PSYOP is so good that they even get women to cheer for this outcome. an actually functional nation would exclude women aged 18 to 40 from the full-time workforce. And you'd see a reduction in house prices, rents, high taxes, wasteful government spending, foreign aid, and all the other useless garbage. So everyone would have the same level of material wealth, except we wouldn't be going extinct. And I'm just so sick of the go-to conservative response to demographic collapse of like, well, our problem is that we let women work, because women have been working for fucking ever. Okay, they've been working and raising kids, and they've been doing it with their community.
And there's a great graph of this, which shows that what you really had was that, and I'll put it here, that women used to work about as much as men, and then the rate that women worked went down over time with technological inventions, and it went up in the 70s. The idea of taking women out of the workforce is an anathema to women's history. Women used to work.
Temporary aberration.
Honestly, now that I think about it, I'm a little confused as to how people with like even a base knowledge of history could buy into this system that traditional women didn't work. I mean, we know in hunter-gatherer times, the women did steady work that would feed the family, i.e. gather, and men would do the more risky work that would bring in the big kills, i.e. hunt. But even during the early agricultural period, I mean, women worked the farm too. Do they think that women, and not only that, but when it wasn't farming season, if anything, women worked more than men because they would often be doing the sewing and stuff like that, which would then be sold in the local communities. I mean, I guess it was like a period of like 20 years where women didn't really need to work due to technological advances. Maybe 50 years max, but it was short.
And you and me would be so screwed if I didn't work. You like, why would I imagine if I just turned to you and I was like, hey, Malcolm, how about you just do all of the work now? And I'm just going to chill here at home with the kids. I'm not going to help us make money.
We'd be fine. Because I'm not as competent as you, and I'm not as hardworking as you.
No, we bring, like I keep saying, we bring very different skills to the table. And without both of us bringing those skills to the table, we are completely economically and professionally hamstringed. And this is another one of those big shames of the atomization of society, in that married couples are 100% looking at their careers as being totally separate. And in the end, they both kind of suck at what they do because they're not really combining their different skills that should be overlapping, or not overlapping, should be complementary.
The point of the marriage is to cover your blind spots.
Yes,
right?
hello.
To work together because you are not perfect. No human is. And to look for somebody who covers all of the parts of you that you fail at. And then utilize that in both a professional and domestic sense. You know, as a parent, you cover the things I'm not good at. I cover the things you're not good at. As somebody who's taking care of the home, you cover the things I'm not good at. I cover the things you're not good at. And professionally, it's the same. Like, the idea that you would attempt to tackle any of this alone, I just can't even fathom. It's insane.
And yet there's so many people who've just decided that the problem is women getting educated. The problem is women working. When no, the problem is that couples are no longer becoming couples. They're not even coordinating on anything anymore. They're not working together anymore. Communities are not working and coordinating anymore. You know, it also used to be that communities were stronger.
Funny, like, get in the kitchen, right? Like this famous line, right? Like the woman's role is in the kitchen.
Make me a sandwich, etc.
This was true of poor families historically, like poor dysfunctional families that had no status in society. This was not true of wealthy families historically. Usually the women played a large part in the economic management of the family's assets. Like, you are emulating poor trash humans, basically, when you take on these positions, even from a historic perspective. Anyway,
what would we call trailer trash before? Oh no, we would just call them gypsies. Oh God, there were always people in trailers and we still were mean to them.
No, we'd call them serfs.
Serfs were the original.
Not even serfs, because serfs worked. They were probably like low-class merchants or something. Yeah, I mean, the idea that you would have someone like, think about on the frontier, right? The type of person who like kept his wife in the kitchen. This was like your severe drunkard, like barely able to handle himself, glass of whiskey everywhere he went, you know, falling over, yelling at trees, Like,
Like
this
a
is-
trees. That's funny because it's true.
no, it is true. This was like a
Yeah.
thing back then. This was not your like a competent individual. You know,
Mm.
you look at like Abigail Adams and John Adams, for example, right? Like,
Right. These are two very hardworking people who did real work and who collaborated deeply. You know, everything they did was together. It was not separate. Abigail played a crucial role as an advisor and a sounding board to John
Mhm.
Adams, and she also ran their properties and farms and
when he was on his trips doing his, like me, promoting the podcast. I'm out promoting the podcast. You're running our companies, right? Like, it's the way that the elite of humanity has always functioned. We just forgot.
yeah, but again, you know, coming back
But
to
they're
like
functioning as a unit.
why
Yeah.
not give women money? Why not have women win the lottery or give them subsidies? I just can't really see ever having the comfort to do all of that in isolation by myself. I know a lot of people talk about doing it by themselves, and a lot of people end up doing it by themselves, but it's really freaking hard.
But it's a perversion of the joint bank account. It's a
Yeah.
perversion of no, I'm sorry, the non-joint bank account, the
Yeah.
separate bank accounts in a married couple, the separate identities in a married couple.
Mhm.
Like, if you're not willing to combine who you are with somebody else, then you're probably not willing to be married.
Well, and you're
Marriage,
probably not willing to give your life to children as well, right?
yeah, the Pragmatist Guide to Crafting Religion, when we talk about like our religious structure, we sort of frame life as a iterative movement away from the self. Like, you start as a child, this thing that like needs from its environment around it, needs from its family. You're nothing but a drain on those around you.
Mm.
Then, but you are also singular. Then you become a self-sufficient individual and like a totally independent individual. Then you become married and you become a partner to someone else. You become part of a holistic team where you are half of that team. Then you become part of a family, right? Where you are the head of the family or one of the heads of the family, insofar as you are guiding the next generation, guiding these next hungry individualists. And then you die and you become a memory and part of the family tradition. And that this is a journey, when properly pursued, as a journey away from individualism and towards an ethereal memory. And that individuals who cling to whatever stage of this cycle, they cling to this individualist stage, or they cling to this I want me more. You know, that's what the individual, like a Chris Chan or something, is doing. The individual who lives off the state, the individual who lives off society, me, always me. They never really evolve past this childlike state, sort of
Mm.
Freudian stages. Or you're the secondary individual, the individual who's always an individual, always must be independent. You know, they're always in this sort of teenage version of themselves. Or the individual who's always their married partner, you know, not a family, right? Like, they're always in this early married, early 30s version of themselves, right? Anyway,
Yeah. Huh. So how palatable do you think this is going to be? You know, give men money.
only give
This male
money.
subsidy.
All income should go straight to the man. That's what we'll
Not,
say.
but no, see, that's the thing is I am against this idea of financially and legally disempowering women. That is not the point. Women should have property rights. They should have, you know,
Are you
they should have access.
sure?
Yes.
Are you
Yes. I think
sure?
the problem though is because I mean, you can see it creates a ton of adverse incentives when someone has the ability to, with impunity, make a lot of decisions around property. And also it creates, so in our relationship, for example, you make the final call on everything. If I say no, you can veto something. It is ultimately your decision. But the reason why that's powerful and the reason why you are always going to be incentivized to make good decisions is, you know, that in the end, if you make a decision that I'm super not cool with, that's the end of our marriage, period. You're gone. Like, you have no more Simone as a resource. It's gone. And you don't want that. So you're not going to make decisions that I'm not going to be okay with. You may make decisions that I'm uncomfortable with, or you may ultimately obligate me to do the responsible thing that I don't have the self-control to do, which I really appreciate. And that's usually whenever I'm not exactly on board. It's not because I disagree with you, it's because I don't wanna. But if you take that away and there is no out for the women, there is no financial recourse, there is no there's no way for them to exit, there is less of an incentive to make the right decision. And I could always trust you, even if you 100% had control of all the property and I, as a woman, had zero rights. I know that I could trust you to make the right decision.
But we have the alternate scenario here. She manages all of our bank accounts, all of our investments. I don't even know where the money is with our crypto and stuff like that. You tortured me. I'd be like, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. It's hard.
Anyway, I think a lot of people could not be trusted with that level of power and oversight, even though I could trust you with it.
You trust me with it because I trust you with all the actual stuff.
It's true. I have all the power. So I guess, yeah, because you gave it all to me, even though you didn't have to.
I gave it all to her out of laziness, by the way. This stuff is hard and tedious, and I don't like thinking about it. You know, I
don't necessarily want it either. For the
dislike of gambling to the level where like I hate investment because like it feels like gambling I'm forced to do to be financially responsible.
What on earth, right? It's so screwed up. But you did a gamble in Las Vegas, right? And then you put in.
I gambled $1. It was very difficult
in the slot machine.
I did a gamble,
and we won. It just was on a very
the situation. It did a thing. It went blah, 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 and you can pull it a surprising number of times for $1. I thought it might be $1 for one pull, but no, I get to pull it up many times.
Yeah, I guess now I understand why people can sit in front of slot machines in Las Vegas for so long, because it was getting to the point where we were really ready to go, but we felt like we had to go through the whole dollar.
Right? Yeah, we got to pull to the end. Pull. It was weird. Yeah, I don't recommend gambles.
I don't recommend gambles.
No, that's I think it's a genetic thing, like gambling, stuff like that. It's like, are you programmed to get a big hit from these environments?
Yeah. But anyway, what I'm saying about women and property is that we need a free market. I'm very much a believer in free markets. If you do not subject people to market pressures, then let the invisible hand work things out in a natural way. Because what is a free market but the human complicated civilizational level version of evolution, you know? So if you take that away and you artificially disempower one class of society, one group, one sex, whatever, then you're going to start to get market inefficiencies. And so we need a free market.
For you, the core sin is market inefficiencies.
Well, that's what it creates. And that's why I don't like it. We are, like you said in an earlier conversation we had, very results-oriented people. So obviously, if wokeism or communism or socialism or whatever it might be, stuff that we're not necessarily super on board with, was proven right, we'd be fully on board. Like, we're there. Show us how it works, and we're there. So if disempowering women and sending them back to the kitchen and taking away their bank accounts and whatever it may be created the society that we thought was ideal, that would create human flourishing, that would get us off planet, that would help us overcome all of our shortcomings, 100% take it away. Okay. But that's just not what would happen. And I'm so fucking sick of all these, and it's always guys, but sometimes pick-me women, but not really pick-me women because they're not even capable of making these arguments in a very articulate fashion, saying that's the problem. It's women getting educated. It's women going into work. And that's no.
I love you so much, Simone. And I am so excited that we have this podcast together. And we're about to pass the 10,000 number. So let's see. I don't know.
Yes. Okay. So please, if you are listening to this, and yes, we have punchable faces or whatever, but if you have enjoyed, or you just want other people to want to punch our faces, here's what you should do. Go steal someone's iPhone, because you probably don't have one. Cool people don't have iPhones, do they? Except for their like really rich tech VCs or people who are trying to front. So go find someone with an iPhone or an iPad, log in to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review so that more people can find and hate us. Yeah, well, you're probably going to end up on Kiwi Farms or Encyclopedia Dramatica.
I'm surprised we're not on Kiwi Farms yet.
There's not enough lol cow.
We're not enough of a lol cow. I will work harder. I will endeavor to be the lolliest of cows.
No, you have to like actually lose your shit. So like, you know, the people like making fun of that kid who, when you say something to them, then they squeal like a little pig and start freaking out. And I think that's a more
Yeah,
common
we like the negative attention a little too much.
or too much into it. And so it's not fun, because it's not fun to bully someone when
It's
they're like, yeah, do it
yeah,
again.
I'm hanging out on the Kiwi. This is cool. You guys
Yeah.
are paying attention.
You should talk about this thing too. It just then it becomes homework. So I'm afraid you're kind of doomed on that front. And I'm sorry, but it's the truth. It's a sick, sad truth.
Oh, wait, actually, we need
What?
one of our fans to create the Kiwi Farms page for us. So that it is always actually managed by somebody who doesn't hate us.
No, it has to be managed by someone who actually hates us and thinks that we're amusing. But I don't. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. I don't think we're ever going to end up there. And maybe,
Oh God, I will work hard to prove you wrong on that, Simone.
well, you're going to have to I don't know. I'll roofie you, I guess, and then you'll have to.
You
run-
already have. Why am I married to you?
We're going
This
to that
wasn't
New York event
voluntary.
on Friday, so I will roofie you. I will take away your clothes, and then I will just punt you out of the hotel room, and then maybe something will happen. I could put a body cam on you.
so that they see me running around saying, "My wife has abandoned me."
I mean, I do not know what it would take, but yeah, I think also like a very common element of Kiwi Farms lol cows is that they have a very big lack of self-awareness.
People think I have a lack of self-awareness.
And I think you have enough of a sense of self-awareness, or I'm so much like you / I am you, and you're just recording this 2 times over, cross-dressed as me, where
I love that conspiracy theory. This is a real conspiracy theory about us, by the way.
but it's true, because obviously. And why
I
else
can
are we
see
in separate
this.
rooms?
You
Why
could
else
be
are we in
me with,
separate
like,
rooms?
makeup and a different outfit.
Yeah.
Maybe a
Not
few
really.
years apart with hormones.
Not really, because my face is super deformed. But nevertheless, I think, for example, even Ayla doesn't really have a Kiwi Farms page. A lot of people are just like, can you believe in her surveys, she doesn't include trigger warnings. So there's nothing on her there because she's very self-aware. So even people who you would think would be great, who say very outlandish things, who are
But
very...
my thing about Ayla recently, and I almost want to do a full episode on this, is she's like Iyazaki anime. I don't know if people know Iyazaki animes. This is anime.
Izakaya? No, sorry.
Izakaya.
No. Izakaya is that tapas of Japan.
Yes, that's why I said Iyazaki. Anyway, so a character.
Izakai? No, I think it's Izakai.
Izakai. Anyway, character ends up dying, waking up in a different world. Ayla yet again released her stats on things like showers, rates of sex, rates of going outside. And people are like, oh my God, like she showers what? Like, I don't know, like twice a week or something. Like not as much as you would expect, with a lot of people. And I am just convinced that she is an isekai from like a different parallel universe. There was some like fat gamer anime nerd red pill guy, right, who got reincarnated as a full all stats character in our reality.
Max attractive,
woman.
Max
Like,
smart,
Max smart, Max
Yeah.
attractive, Max everything.
female.
Yeah, and he's like,
it all.
oh God, what do I do with my life? What? I can just have sex for money now? This is awesome. What? I can just like spend my entire life doing random research and everyone respects me? What? I can just
She puts up with a lot of shit, Malcolm. A lot of people don't respect her, and I don't understand that, because she is...
But what I don't understand is the people
She's also, she out wholesomes pretty much everyone I know. She is more wholesome.
Oh no, absolutely. If you know her personally, she's incredibly wholesome.
She's earnest, she's honest, she's intellectually humble.
But
Even like she wants to have a family. She supports her family. She's there for her sisters. Like, I'm sorry, do you
That's
do
the
that?
way
I don't
isekai
think
anime
so.
goes. It's the fat guy with the Cheeto dust always dies jumping in front of a train saving a girl or something.
Well, yeah, and he has his harem in the harem comedies because he's just such a nice guy.
And
all
that's
the
why
girls
he
really
gets
like him.
reincarnated. In many ways, it's the best isekai reincarnation. The best gift for being this otherwise perfectly honorable character. Honestly, you could make an anime about Ayla's life where she is an isekai character.
There are like 10 different anime angles on Ayla's life because
I think it would
cool.
be a fantastic anime.
Any anime about Ayla would be fantastic. She's just
It would be like the Harry Potter messes of
I
rationality.
see. No,
of
the one that
UK.
I want to watch either the Food Wars version of Ayla's life, where it's about like you learn about her research through completely outlandish episodes that involve competitions, or I would want to watch the Therme Rome version of an Ayla anime, where it's like somehow like I want the instructional element of it. I just want that. But
By the
oh
way,
well.
Therme Rome on Netflix is terrible. I accidentally
Not the new
recommended
one,
it
the
on my Facebook
original.
page.
Obviously, the original.
original Therme Rome. People might not know this. Is one of the best animes ever made. The new Therme Rome that's like on. I don't know if it's on Netflix. There's some like
Trash.
manga
Couldn't
streaming
watch it.
platforms.
Horrible.
Trash.
Unpalatable.
You have to pirate it. Okay. Sorry. No, don't pirate anything. Pirating is illegal.
I think you can just watch it on YouTube.
Yeah,
No?
I think you can just watch
That's
it.
where we found it. It's fantastic. The original. Yeah. Don't you dare watch the new one. Anyway, I just miss you. I love talking with you. I'm
Yes,
glad
the
you're
people who
home.
might not know this, and I should note, like I've been really disappointed in our episode quality recently, and it's because the episodes we've been airing recently were during a period where we were prepping for a big backlog because we were going to travel. Last weekend I was in New Hampshire. The weekend before that I was in Las Vegas, speaking at various conferences, and Simone's super pregnant, and we're super behind on a lot of work. So we're just like, oh, let's prep on weekends. We'll do like 10 episodes in a day, but it led to us filming episodes where I felt like I had sort of run out of ideas by the end of the day and that were kind of bad, but we needed to build this backlog if we're going to stick with a daily upload schedule. And I'm sorry we did that to you guys, and hopefully that won't happen again. I know we're building another backlog for when she's having the kid, because she's like, I probably won't be able to record for a week or so. But other than that, yeah, I'm sorry we have not been at the quality that I would like to be in terms of baseness, spiciness, and new takes.
We'll get back on that train. We'll get back on the spice train. The spice must flow.
The spice must flow. Oh my God, Simone, you know what you're on about.
I love you.
You are like a nerd. Geisha. I don't even know.
Oh God. Oh, all right. Hot dog night. Let's do it.
So tonight she's making hot dogs, and we cut them up and we put them in the little Hawaiian buns, which are sweet, and then I put them in with shallots, which I'm getting today, and some fancy sauces, which I collect. And I'm very, very, very excited for my little hot dog buns.
Yeah. So you cut the rich person onions. I'll do everything else. You good to go?
Yeah.
It's on, friend.
As we call shallots, rich person onions, because Uncle Roger.
Because Uncle Roger says that.
We are men of
culture.
Are men of culture.
Yes.
And status.
We learn all of our cooking information from Uncle Roger, as everyone should. And well, that and Food Wars. Uncle Roger.
Yeah, Uncle Roger and Food Wars. That's where I have learned my food. That's what goes on in kitchens.
God bless. All right.
I love you.
I love you too, Malcolm.